Hey guys, today I'm going to show you a tutorial on how I do a glitter cup without using any fancy tools such as cup turners, anything like that at all. I basically use my hands and that's about it. So this is just a basic 30-ounce stainless steel tumbler. It's a Mossy Oak brand, and I usually like to use Yeti cups, but I'm going to use this one for the tutorial. I will also be using today Mod Podge, and I'm going to be using these two beautiful colors of glitter that I actually got these at Walmart. This one is a really pretty pink glitter and gold. I'm going to do pink and gold and try to get somewhat of an ombre effect on the cup itself. I also use these spongy pink brushes. I think that these work really well. And the first thing that I do is I wash the cup in dish detergent, such as it doesn't matter what it is, as long as it is liquid dish detergent, anything to get any residue when you pull the labels off of the cup. The second thing I do is I tape off the bottom, and I even tape the bottom because I'll be working with glitter and it gets a little bit messy. If this were a Yeti cup, they usually have also a place on the top, and I would normally tape off the top and bottom, but on this cup it's a little bit different, so I'm going to take this one all the way up to the top. The first thing I'm going to do is apply the Mod Podge, and I basically just take this and dip it in here, and since it's spongy it'll fit right in there. I take off a little bit of the excess right here, and I just kind of start to work my way up with it. One thing you want to try to avoid when you are applying the Mod Podge is to make sure that you don't have any big gaps such as this, if you can see, because that is what the glitter is going to stick to. I do make sure that I get this up close to the top without getting it inside the cup. You want to do this somewhat fast when you have a big cup like a 30-ounce before the Mod Podge dries. It dries rather quickly. So sometimes you have to kind of go back over. We will be applying a second coat of the Mod Podge. After we get the first coat of glitter. Okay, we have this on here, and I'm going to start out at the bottom. I'm still making sure this is on there without any clumps. This is not an extra fine glitter. I want it this way purposely. So I am going to start here at the bottom, and I'm just going to sprinkle this beautiful gold on. And if we get a little bit too much, it's okay. I'm going to pour the excess that is falling onto the plate right back into the container. That is absolutely beautiful. And then I just kind of tap it. Got glitter that is not extra fine. You have a lot of leverage as to how you work with it. And what had happened is by the time I had applied the glitter at the bottom, the Mod Podge at the top was already dry. So that's actually easily fixable, and I just take another brush, dip it into the Mod Podge, and kind of space in there, and just make sure that you don't get any clumps, because clumps are what are going to make it stick. So I'm basically kind of going back through here and fixing where the Mod Podge dried quickly. And once I do that, and I know there's still several areas, I'll just go back over it, and I'll take glitter and pour right over it. And then just kind of tap it so you can see how pretty that's turning out. And I also just noticed I had a small section of gold. There we go. So I'm basically just going to keep going back through here and fixing When working with glitter that is not extra fine, it does a really good job of doing coverage on the first try without having to do a complete second coat. So what I'm going to do here is just kind of look for some places that need glitter and also try to blend this a little bit better. So I'm looking for any places that just maybe have where you can kind of see the stainless steel quite a bit. And once again, anytime you do this, you want to make sure that you don't have any clumps. So I'm just kind of doing this a little bit at a time. Basically fixing holes and spots. And I also have a separate brush for the gold. I see some spots down here that definitely need attention. So just so you can see what I'm doing. If you just kind of do this in spots, a little at a time, it avoids the Mod Podge drying too quickly. And more time for you to concentrate on the areas that you need to fill. Right here I see a section that I just kind of want to put a little bit more pink there where the gold is. And I'll be doing that right here as well. This is so beautiful and sparkly. This almost just looks like bling. So I'm basically examining the cup. Now I just need to go back down here where the gold is and basically just spot treating these areas. Because with, once again, with the glitter that is as thick as this, you do not want to apply 2 full coats. Just spot it. And this is how you apply glitter to the next step that I'm going to do is, the only thing about chunky glitter is before we can even think about applying the epoxy to it, we need to press in anything that just sticks out. So I kind of just start at the top, and if it falls, it falls. I just kind of press it with my fingers. And if there are any spots that would require putting stuff back in there, I can always do that with the epoxy. You can apply glitter right on top of the epoxy. It's better to do that. Worst case scenario is that you might have some light sanding that would need to be done. So I'm already seeing a few areas that might possibly need to be done. Because we want when we apply our epoxy, we want this to be very smooth. The product that I'm going to be using for the epoxy is made by Alumilite, and it is clear casting. This is FDA approved, so it's definitely great for any type of tumbler cup. When you are mixing the epoxy, you have to mix equal parts. Normally on a regular tumbler cup, such as a 20 ounce with fine glitter, I would probably only use about 15 milliliters. Because I'm using chunky glitter and this is a 30 ounce tumbler, I'm going to go ahead and go up to 30 just to allow some extra room, because I've got some places I need to fill in that came off whenever I was pressing. So these have to be actually mixed perfectly. So you can either go by your milliliters or you can go by tablespoons. So I'm just going to go ahead, I think I'm just going to go ahead and do like 2 tablespoons. I know that's probably and I'm pretty careful on how I mix this. It needs just a dot more. And that is 2 tablespoons. So I have my solo cup here, and I'm going to pour this in here. Every last bit of it. A little stir stick here. Make sure you really scrape and get every last bit. And I'm now mixing the other. Just a dot more. And sorry if that didn't show up in the video. And I'm scraping the cup. You want these to be in equal parts because it'll either be too thick or too thin. Now you want to stir. And you have to stir this really good. You don't want to stir too fast because you don't want to have air bubbles. I usually like to try to mix this, and if you do get any air bubbles, just kind of poke at them. And I'm kind of scraping the stir stick, popsicle stick, right there inside. Okay, so now I have this. I'm going to put my lids back on my part A and part B. And I'm going to set these to the side. And because I do not have a turner, I use one of these. So now I'm going to get my cup back over here. I have peeled off the tape up at the top. So I'm going to try to avoid getting any epoxy up here because I'm going to need to use my fingers to hold it. And also I'm going to be applying glitter right into the epoxy where glitter fell out, mainly on the gold area. So we will begin. I'm going to apply thin very thin layer and just kind of work my way down. Oh, and by the way, I have a I took a grocery store bag and I completely sealed the lid of the cup. So this is kind of how you have to do it. You can kind of lift it a little bit. And to make sure that this is on here evenly. Okay, at this point I am going to take some of the glitter and kind of apply it right into the epoxy. You can already see that it's starting to get a really nice shine to it, and I'm avoiding this rim area right here because that is what I am turning it with. This is also where it's going to get really pretty because some of the gold glitter will come. I'm also making sure that anywhere that looks like it's possibly running, I'm catching that as well. I'm going to take just a moment and I'm going to apply a little bit more glitter to the gold area right into the epoxy. And you can see that it just kind of stays, and then later I will only have to apply a thin layer. The goal of epoxy is to make it shine and to harden, and also to make it dishwasher safe. I would say that that is pretty well covered there. I see a few spots over here with the pink right here. We're going to apply some epoxy, and I will put the glitter right on those spots, just a little. I am thinking this is turning out beautiful. Just absolutely beautiful. And it's not even done yet with the decal or anything. I'm going to go ahead and finish using Just going back over here to make sure that all of this is epoxy. Are covered with epoxy. I have all the epoxy on, and I'm really loving how some of the glitter kind of blended in, and you can see that it is really starting to get a shine on it. And I love how there's just some of the pink is blended in with the gold, and the gold is blended in with the pink, and I'm really just loving how this cup is turning out. We'll see how it looks in the morning. Maybe some possible sanding and maybe another coat of epoxy. But I'm really liking that shine. After applying a second coat of epoxy, with the cup turned upside down, and then I just rotated it myself by hand. I don't have anything fancy. I don't have a cup turner or cup tisserie or anything like that. The cup did turn out just a little bit bumpy, not because I did not have a cup turner, but because the glitter itself was chunky. But for the most part, after wet sanding it just a little bit, I got most of those bumps out. There was a little bump right here, you can tell where the decal is, and I did put the epoxy over the top of the decal. But I think this cup just turned out absolutely beautiful, regardless of a few of the bumps. And I am very happy considering that this cup is for myself. I hope you stay tuned. I am going to be making some more videos using the fine glitter. I'm going to try to do a cup using alcohol ink and fabric. So stay tuned.